My sister-in-law secretly DNA tested my daughter, thinking she'd expose some scandal. Instead, she found out the hard way that adoption is a thing, and her greedy plans to cut my daughter out of the family completely backfired. I have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for almost all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months old, both her mother and father were unalived. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both unalived. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. I initially didn't like the idea of having a child, but I learned to love her as my own. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter, biologically speaking. My daughter, whom I'll call Lily for this post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't usually correct this when people assume it because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now, and they have a 1-year-old. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained it was Lily's mother. My sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. At the dinner table, my parents announced that they were setting up a college fund for both kids, and they were going to give $50,000 each. We were all very happy to hear this, and we went back home afterward. Anyway, after about a month, I observed that my sister-in-law got pretty distant from my daughter. Anytime Lily would play with her son, she would take him and tell Lily that he needed a nap. Or when Lily asked her something, she would ignore her and tell her that she's busy when she was just using her cell phone. Then one day, she came to my house and told me that she had something urgent to tell me. I found out that my sister-in-law had gotten a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that Lily and I weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing. At this, I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red, and she stormed off. My brother is mad that I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. You can watch the second part by pressing share and more.